Hey, this is Hudson Valley 1. We're talking to Chris Petsas. He's the councilman for Ward 1, correct?
That's correct.
So you've been involved at the heart of this bus deal. Do you want to tell me very quickly how did we get to this point where it seems like there's kind of like a divide between you and the other members of the council?
4 years ago, Mayor Tyzik and his administration were working with County Executive Molinaro to do the same thing of what's happened now in Poughkeepsie, which is the elimination of our bus service, consolidation, elimination, whatever word you want to use. At that time, the council 4 years ago voted, the majority of us, to let the county executive know and the Tyzik administration know that we weren't interested in doing that. Upon that resolution being passed, the mayor at that point realized he didn't have council support to move ahead with it. The county executive dropped it.
So this is Tyzik.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, this was dropped because both the county executive and the mayor realized at that point, John Tyzik, that they didn't have the support to move it along. 4 years later, a new mayor who is very friendly with the county executive, obviously the former chairman of the legislature, decided to move ahead with the plan.
How was he just able to move ahead with a plan like that? I thought that was
that's the whole thing. Is there was supposed to be an MOA, MOU,
explain what that is.
MOU, mutual of understanding, MOA, mutual of agreement, that was supposed to take place between the city council and the county legislature. That we would agree to do this. The mayor had placed it on our agenda, I think about 6 months ago. Realized he didn't have support for it, pulled it off the agenda. We never voted on it. Went behind the scenes and made up his own MOA, which he and the county executive signed together. So
you're suggesting that he made a private meeting where there was supposed to be a public one, and that he signed an agreement with them, and is that illegal?
That's a good question, whether it's legal. There are council members like myself that believe it's illegal, that it had to go through the council to eliminate our buses.
How would you determine that?
Well, I mean, if the council had a lawyer that represented us, that would be helpful. But the way our city government is structured, the mayor's lawyer is our lawyer, which really doesn't make sense because he appoints the lawyer, and of course the lawyer's going to side with the mayor that appoints him, whether he's going to be down the river. So our hands are kind of tied on this. But nevertheless, the council voted twice to fund the buses, and so that should have been a good indication to any mayor that that they didn't have the support to move ahead.
You just made me think of something. So why are you against a shared services program? Because it seems to me that the point of it would be to save both the city and the county money by having shared services, and shared services is not an uncommon thing for municipalities to do.
Yeah, so shared services I fully support, and I think everybody on the council supports shared services where we can,
right?
Where you can save money, where you can keep the same frequency of routes, and you can keep the same level of service. This elimination of our bus service, has really hampered a lot of people that live on the north side, especially. A lot of routes were removed, and I mean, if you look at these county buses today, you'll see just the one that passes in front of us every day that there's nobody on it because the routes don't meet the needs of our people. Our old routes met the needs of our people. We carried 300,000 riders, a year. We now have gaps.
Was there ever an attempt? You're saying there's certain routes that were not covered, right, by the county right now.
First ward.
Now, was there ever an attempt for the county to reach out to the management of the city bus system to make sure that those needs were met?
No, I mean, I've been the lead, opposition on this, and I have been,
So is there recourse for this? So are you able to say, hey, we had this bus come through my neighborhood every day, and now it doesn't?
So now they just September 1st brought a bus back into the first ward, but again,
I
don't know, at hopefully the community's opposition as well as mine of not having a bus down there, but again, the bus is not being utilized by the people. They're unfamiliar where it goes, where it takes them. And when people do get on a bus and they go to Stop and Shop, there's sometimes 3-4 hour gap before another bus gets there, and so people are waiting at Stop and Shop. And I think the telltale sign is that these new routes are running heavily empty. And I think again that just shows that these routes do not work for the people. These times don't work for the people, and we have to fix it.
A tougher question for you, because they're going to lay this at your feet apparently, is that there's going to be, first of all, can you explain what the $1.9 million fee is for that's coming up on Thursday the 28th?
Yes. Yep. Well,
we're here or we're there?
We're going to be in here, but 5 minutes, I guess. Yep. So the 1.6 million, 1.9, the number always changes. is a recapture penalty by the FTA, the Federal Transportation Authority Administration, supposedly. So a letter was sent to the city saying that they understood that an MOA was signed between the mayor and the county executive. However, they also understood that the council may not be supporting the transfer of the assets. And at the end of the letter, it says, you know,
And can you explain what the assets are exactly?
so they are our buses for
the actual material buses.
Yeah, the buses. There's some vehicles. There's some machinery, equipment, but mostly the buses.
And what are they valued at?
1.6, 1.2, 1.6, I believe.
And what would they do if they reclaim them?
Well, that's the funny thing. So they sent a letter saying this is what may apply to you, and so it says you may have to pay back 1.6. It doesn't demand us to pay back the money. It doesn't say we have to pay back the money. It's a possibility. So
and say that there is an agreement after they send you this fine. What happens is that you still have to pay the fine.
There may be no fine. There may be a fine, and so you know that's why I think it's very premature to say.
So
that
the city administrator says in his letter to me that. That because of this, there's going to be an automatic 17% increase in property and business taxes because of this fine. What is your response to that?
Well, it's untruthful because, again, there is no demand or any penalty on the city at this time.
Okay.
Is it a possibility? Yes. There's a possibility that, you know, something could go dramatically wrong at our water plant or something dramatically wrong in our downtown and our infrastructure, and the city's going to have to come up with $2 million to fix something next year.
Okay.
You know, are we gonna tell people we're gonna raise your taxes because of a possibility of a $2 million or something broke in our road or a water plant breakdown? I mean, it's, you know, that's.
He also mentioned the selling, and I forgot the name of the property now, for $600,000.
Wheaton.
He says Wheaton, and
Yep.
and what is it? Can you describe what that is first?
Well, that's the project.
That's the apartment building.
That's
by
the
Vassar?
old day nursery
Right.
in the first ward that is under contract for sale, has been for nearly 2 years now. But that money has to be put towards parks. So even though that money will be $600,000 once it's sold.
So when he says they haven't seen the $600,000, what does that mean? Who owes that money?
that they haven't closed on a property.
Oh, so they haven't. So it's like closing on a house or something.
Correct. They have not
All right.
closed.
So why would they be saying that they're? Why are they describing it as if it's like a malfeasance of funds? They mean the language they seem to be using is constructed in a way that makes you think that there's some kind of like nefarious.
Well, listen. This is.
I mean, you wouldn't say there's $600,000 missing, or that we never received it, unless you're suggesting to me anyway that something untoward is going on. Do you agree?
Mhm.
So why do you think they're doing that? Is it again just?
I think it's just more scare tactics. You know, I think you know when you throw big numbers around, it scares people. And listen, ultimately, this is the mayor's budget.
Right.
You know, the council is unable to pass its own budget, so what we have in the budget, if the mayor put $600,000 in there and it didn't come through, then that's on him and his team. You know, that's his budget.
So let's just say like the most utopian outcome of this for you. What would that be? In other words, that all sides being happy. How do you see that happening?
We're going to be meeting with the mayor Friday at noon to go over a resolution that we'll be proposing where the buses could be leased for a amount of time. Either Dutchess County Transit could, or another transit administrator around here could come in and use our buses for an amount of time while we try to figure out exactly whether we can restore bus service here. How do we get our routes restored? So we are meeting, and we're hopeful that resolution will be passed and the FTA would approve it, and so the buses will be utilized for the good of the public, but still under our ownership, and we'll still have our transit subsidies.
And sorry, it's one last thing. It was said to me a couple of times too by a couple of residents was that they felt like this issue is sucking a lot of the oxygen out of the room, kind of the same way like a Trump story does, and that there's a lot of other pressing needs that could be met. What's your reaction to that, A? And B, can you address what some of the other issues you think are being overlooked right now that are really important because of this kind of stalemate?
Well, there is no question that this bus issue has been the most controversial issue that I've seen in the last decade in Poughkeepsie. But you know, it affects a lot of people's lives that don't have vehicles, that rely on those for.
Which is, give us a sense again. We're talking about 300,000 residents a year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
300,000 riders.
Right.
I mean,
riders.
that could be you know one rider
Right,
riding
okay.
the bus 10 times a day.
But it's a regular base. We have a regular base.
Yeah. And you know, I mean.
And we actually in the city don't have any grocery stores really, except for the one there on Main Street, and we don't have. We do have a lot of people that live in the projects and that are poor or destitute who rely on the buses. So that's just an editorial note. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this has strongly divided not only the council versus certain council members, it's also divided the council and administration. In fact, I don't think the mayor has spoken to me now in 6 months outside of a council meeting. And so there has been a great divide that has been caused by this issue. But at the end of the day, you know, I think that logical people, when you explain to them that, listen, this whole issue could have went away had the mayor just allowed us to continue our buses till the end of the year for $200,000, for the $250,000 that was going to cost us to run our buses, we could have got rid of this issue. We wouldn't be facing a $1.6 million possible penalty, right? So do you pay the $250, keep your buses running, and try to squash controversy, or do you now close your bus service down and say we're going to owe 1.6? The logical step would be that we just have kept the buses running, and worked with the county on a better transition plan or a better consolidation plan that benefited all sides.
And so, in this point B was, what do you see being overlooked, and what are some needs that you think really need to be addressed that aren't being addressed because of this issue?
Yeah, I think there's
just two off the top of your head.
There's hundreds. It's the small things from painted crosswalks. Why do we not have painted crosswalks in every neighborhood? We have areas of our city where now people are forced to walk, and yet we don't have painted crosswalks for the people to understand, where they should be. I think, the crime is still, just today we had the repass for Nakia over here.
Yeah.
And it's, it's sad. Crime is drug epidemic. Our fire department is going out, anywhere from...
Are they having shortages of fentanyl here?
I'm not sure surges, but what I can tell you is...
Shortages of it, yeah.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that listening to the scanners, heroin.
Right.
20-year-old.
Well, fentanyl too is yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. I commend the police department for, it seems they're stepping up the raids and the execution of search warrants and trying, but, yes, this has drawn a lot of oxygen out of the room, out of the council chambers. It's divided us. It's worn us out. You have bad feelings now, and it's unfortunate. But I think you need jobs.
And you are for re-election, and
we all are.
Yep. Okay. Oh, the entire council.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's an important note to note is that
So let's talk about that. Let's end on a bigger picture note. So this is your what term? What term
this would be my third
term. Okay, and how, just for people that don't know, how long are city?
So it's 2-year terms, up to 8 years.
Okay.
So 4 2-year terms.
Okay, so this would be your fourth.
This would be my third coming up.
Third. Okay, great. Yeah. And so what's a big picture thing that you want to talk about that has nothing to do with buses?
Well, no, it has to do with the buses.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think that it's very important to know that on primary day, 90% of us pro city bus people won our re-elections, or won by big numbers.
Right.
Ann Finney, who nobody knew, but came out strongly, against this consolidation, elimination of our buses, defeated an incumbent councilman that, had the backing of the Democratic committee. We had Randall Johnson, defeat Carrie Reiser, because Carrie had posted on our Facebook, this is going to make or break me, and sure enough, it broke her. But you had an insurgent.
I thought Carrie was running for legislator.
Right, and she lost against Randy in a primary.
Oh, Randy didn't run for common council. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Junior ran. Junior.
Oh, Junior's on the common council.
He defeated, handedly his opponent.
Right.
So I think that it speaks volumes that this community is not happy with the way this all went down, and I wish we could restart the process and have a better process. But to shut down a bus service in the middle of the year and to have all these new routes is just crazy. There should have been a transition. Well, we'll keep the current routes for 6 months, and then we're going to start transitioning them.
And without much of an explanation to the people, I find that the county website's very difficult to navigate as well. So, Chris, thank you very much for being part of our inaugural column, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.